The American College of Medical Informatics presents the year 2000 Morris Collen Award to Professor Jean-Raoul Scherrer. The Morris Collen Award is given by the American College of Medical Informatics each year when a worthy candidate is available to honor pioneers in the field of medical informatics. It's a special pleasure for me to participate in the award this year to Jean-Raoul Scherrer, who certainly is a pioneer in the field. It's especially appropriate that we draw attention to the work of a distinguished European informatician, because the ideas in Europe are somewhat different from ours and complementary. In the early days of the field, a lot of experiments were really essential, and I think Professor Scherrer is entitled to claim priority for many of them. Jean-Raoul Scherrer was born in Geneva, that is Geneva, Switzerland, in October 1932. There he received a classical education in French-speaking Jesuit schools and graduated ultimately from the medical school of the University of Geneva.
So my first initial intent was to become a writer. Since I was not totally convinced I was right because I was too young, I decided to visit a famous author that was living quite close to where I was, and I asked him the question, and he said, well, as I see you, I would recommend you to become a doctor instead of becoming a writer. So I did it.
From 1967 until '69, he did postgraduate work in America in physics at Brookhaven National Laboratory on Long Island, and then returned to Geneva and the Cantonal Hospital of the University of Geneva, where he began to design and build what was to become Diagene, the hospital's patient information system.
Jean-Raoul and I have known each other for at least 25 years. We've been very much involved in many activities, and the first one I would like to address is the aspect of his contribution to hospital information systems. I can truly say that probably the most innovative and the most exciting site visit that I was able to make was the one at the Canton Hospital in Geneva. Jean-Raoul had truly captured what needed to be done in the area of clinical hospital information systems.
His work on the hospital information system called Diagene is very interesting because basically it's a big physics experiment. He was not afraid, I should say, to undertake a big, general, working, reliable, standard hospital system, but starting with whatever tools were available to him.
So the idea was to have a system that necessarily should be patient-centered. So we had what we have drawn in these years a schema of a wheel that is the Diagene wheel. That is the middle of the wheel is the patient. So the problem was that it was impossible to discern so many wards with terminals. We would say PC now. And we had to find a trick between the maximum terminals that we could have, that was 48, and the 120 wards that had to be discerned. So the intermediate trick was the pool of operators that were handling the 48 terminals and were serving the 120 ward units, equipped with what we have called a telestation that were also handling a fast programmable printer for all the documents to be printed locally in the wards.
You put your orders in through the telephone, you could immediately see on the screen what you had ordered, and behind all of this fantastic outward facade was a bank of individuals who were keying in the information for orders, for medications, for laboratory work, for radiology. He addressed the needs of the physician. And not only that, he did not encumber the physician to learn to use the computer, but his objective was to see how the computer could be an enabler to assist the healthcare provider in doing what he or she needed to do to be giving the best possible care for the patient.
I think Jean-Raoul has played the role basically of bridging between the fields of physics, mathematics, and the medical applications. He's always, as he said many times, placed the top priority on developments leading to improvements in medical care, but his starting point really is physics and math. He bridges those fields very nicely.
In 1990, Professor Scherrer asked me to spend a sabbatical in Geneva with his group. When my family and I arrived there, we were amazed at the breadth of applications and the team that Professor Scherrer had assembled around him. Not only was there a hospital information system team in place, but he had groups working on natural language processing, image processing and manipulation in the Osiris system. He had a group working on 2D gel electrophoresis, and to my knowledge, this was one of the first bioinformatics groups assembled any place in the world. I was impressed that it was almost like a renaissance of medical informatics.
Actually, NIH now has a form of a research grant award called the GLUE Award, G-L-U-E Award, which is meant to facilitate conversations between physicists, mathematicians, medical informaticians, medical practitioners. I guess really the GLUE Award would permit Jean-Raoul to have a conversation with himself, because he represents all of those fields at once.
He was promoting new technology, new ideas, and it was a chance for many of us being with him, because he was just pushing in a new direction.
In Geneva in 1994-1995, researchers at CERN, which is a high particle physics laboratory, invented the World Wide Web. As luck would have it, the director of CERN was a neighbor of Professor Scherrer, and because of this neighborhood collegiality and collaboration, the group at Geneva Hospital was really the first to apply World Wide Web technology in healthcare. And with their 2D gel electrophoresis and bioinformatics, they made their research databases available to colleagues around the world, and were really the first to do this.
Jean-Raoul has been very important in the utilization of medical computing in Switzerland, but also in the operation and affairs of IMIA, the International Medical Informatics Association.
Jean-Raoul could be really considered one of the founders of this organization. He was very much involved early on with IFIP, when IMIA was nothing more than a subgroup or a working group, TC4.
Because you might know maybe that I was quite acquainted with IFIP, because IFIP was created in Geneva. So IFIP was for computer science in general. And of course we had no needs to have something special for computer science in medicine. However, when I discovered the existence of IMIA, thanks to quite a few fascinating conferences like the one we had in Stockholm, where I met you for the first time, I discovered that we should create a Swiss Society of Medical Informatics. So I had to create, so I became the founder of the Swiss Society for Medical Informatics as a necessary step for becoming member of IMIA, and as well as of FACMI, the European Federation of Medical Informatics also. So that was done also about in the same years. And then I was fascinated, especially by the working groups of IMIA, and I participated to quite a few of them.
Jean-Raoul played a major role, in more ways than one, in the MedInfo meeting in Geneva in 1992.
There was also a very fun and jovial part of Jean-Raoul's contribution to medical informatics. Since he was chairman of the organizing committee, he also organized for a huge circus performance to take place for all of us to attend. Well, I think if anybody remembers Jean-Raoul or feels that they might not know who he is, all one needs to say is Jean-Raoul was the gentleman who rode into this marvelous circus arena on top of a huge, huge elephant. And the man riding the elephant was our friend Jean-Raoul Scherrer.
During my time in Geneva, I had a weekly meeting scheduled with Professor Scherrer. And to my surprise, I would be prepared every week to talk about database design, the design of hospital information systems, the functioning of the operator pool and its value in the Diogenes system. However, in the meeting, Professor Scherrer would rather talk about the Reformation, the Silk Route that was followed by Marco Polo, or a variety of other historical topics or topics of art and poetry. That was my experience while I was there.
A true Renaissance man, he is as comfortable and knowledgeable talking about acetylcholinesterase activity in human erythrocytes as he would be talking about 16th century painting techniques of the Italian masters. One inevitably pictures Jean-Raoul Scherrer in Genève, a city he grew up in and loves. But I recall one day, he has an incredible knowledge of history and humanities and literature, which seemingly is an endless store for him. But I recall one day asking, wasn't it true that Julius Caesar actually marched through Genève in olden times, knowing he of course would have called it Transalpine Gaul, not Geneva or Switzerland. And Jean-Raoul said, well, of course. He stood right there at that corner and reviewed his troops. I haven't found anyone else in Geneva or elsewhere who knew where Julius really was, but I trust Jean-Raoul. He was right on that corner, I'm certain of it.
And going to the Holy Land with him at one time, he followed the steps of Jesus Christ into Jerusalem as he came in with the donkey, knew every step of the way. He knows his Bible intimately.
According to the practices of his university, Jean-Raoul is now a year or so in a retirement. In reality, of course, he's very, very productive and working hard and has already started a foundation called Han, which perhaps you've already heard of. He's quite busy and happy and productive, and we're happy about that.
He has always been very concerned about the efficacy of medical information and how can we best serve the public as well as our professional colleagues in making sure that the information that is given them is valid, is accurate, and is significant.
Health on the Net is an offspring of Expasy. So Expasy was amongst the very first use of World Wide Web in the world. And that was started in 1993, so that was quite early. And the idea was to use the web on the top of Internet protocol to access remote scattered databases of any kind.
I can truly say for me and for many of my colleagues, Jean-Raoul has been a lifetime of inspiration and one of the most exquisite friends, one of the most exquisite leaders, and a human being that is not equaled by anyone that I can even think of.